My room in Groningen is about 3 times the size of a large wardrobe. The walls are pale white, which have turned yellow at the corners, and on one side, there is a small window overlooking the canal. One of the small canals that cuts through this old Dutch town like a seam in a cloth. Every morning, ducks pass by. Every night, bridge lights create a yellow shadow on the black surface of the water. I've lived here 8 months. Long enough to memorize the sound of water pipes on the walls rumbling every 6 in the morning, long enough to know that the bakery at the end of the straat was open at 7, and the smell of it, wheat and cinnamon bread, infiltrated through the window, slit like an uninvited guest, but always welcomed. That night, Thursday, mid-November, the wind from the north entered the city in earnest, not just blowing but pushing, as if to prove something. I sat at the study table with a half-cold cup of coffee, a pile of environmental policy journals in front of me, and a laptop whose screen was full of unfinished writing. I hadn't had dinner yet. I also didn't realize that tonight would change everything. WhatsApp notifications appeared in the top right corner of the screen. From Mother. Raka, are you busy? I want a short video call. I turned to the clock on the wall. 9 in the evening here means 3 in the morning in Jakarta. I typed fast. Mom, it's 3 a.m. there. What's wrong? Her reply came within seconds, as if she had been waiting with a finger on the screen. Yes, Mom can't sleep. Can you do it or not? There was something in the speed of the reply, in the conciseness of the sentence, that made me pause. Mothers are not the type to contact outside reasonable hours. Even when I just arrived in Groningen and experienced a suffocating culture shock, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, crying alone in a room that felt like a box. It's my mother who always measured time carefully. Are you in class? Are you bothering me? I closed the journal. I clicked the video call icon. Mother's face appeared on the screen. She sat in her bedroom. I could see the background I had memorized since childhood, the cream wall, the family photo framed in black above my head, the warm yellow night light on the left side. Her hair was a little messy. Her eyes looked tired, but not tired from sleepiness. There was another kind of tired. Different. Raka, she said. Just that. Mom, what's wrong? Are you serious about not being able to sleep? Or is there something else? Mom was silent for a moment. Her hand, I could see her hand holding something outside the frame. Maybe a blanket, maybe the pillow, moved a little. How's your college? She asked. Mom, are your friends okay? Mother. I put the coffee to the side and sat up straight. What is it? Mother looked down. Her chin almost touched her chest. When she looked up again, I saw her eyes were red. Not from crying that had just stopped, but from crying that had been going on for a long time and had not really finished. Mom just wants to see you, she said finally, slowly. You're fine, right? I'm fine, ma'am. Mother is not doing well. She smiled. The wrong smile. Too wide for the situation. Too short to be sincere. Mom is good. Mom just misses you. We talked for 20 minutes about my semester grades, about the cold weather of Groningen, about the food I ate, about my roommates from Germany and India. Mother listened attentively, nodded, laughed in the right places. But her eyes were never really present. It was like there was a part of her mind left elsewhere. After we ended the call, I sat staring at the dark screen for a few minutes. Then I tried to sleep and failed. 3 days later, Dad contacted me. This was more unusual. Dad is not the caller type. He prefers to send text messages, usually short and practical. Transfer is done. Or were the exam results? Or occasionally, photos of food from his favorite stall in Depok with the caption, "When are you coming home?" A video call from Dad is a rare event. I was in the university library when the notification came in, sitting in the corner of the 3rd floor, which was almost always quiet. This library is different from what I imagined before coming here. Not a quiet place like a temple, but a place that lives with whispers, movements, and typing sounds. I answered the call with earphones and lowered my voice slightly. Hello, R.A. Dad appeared on the screen. He was in the study at home. I could see the bookshelf behind him, the neat table, the wall clock I bought in my 3rd year of high school. Where are you? Library. What's wrong, Dad? Are you okay? I'm okay. Dad nodded slightly. Then silence. A silent father is a familiar thing. But Dad calling and then going quiet, that's another story. Raka, he said finally. You're close to Mom, right? I frowned. What do you mean? Yeah. Do you two talk often? Does she often tell you things? Something in my stomach moved. Not nausea, but a kind of awareness that comes before understanding, like knowing that something is wrong before knowing what is wrong. Quite often, I said carefully. Why, Dad? It's okay. Dad rubbed his temples. Mom's fine at home, right? Do you know something that Mom might not tell Dad? Like what? Yes, anything. I went quiet. Outside the library window, the wind moved the trees that had already lost half their leaves. The brown leaves spun down like a late decision. Dad, is there a problem with Mom? I asked. Dad didn't answer straight away. When he answered, his voice was a little heavy. There's no problem. Dad just asked. I'm not a kid, Dad. Yes. His voice softened. Yeah, Raka knows. We talked a few more minutes about unimportant things. Then Dad said goodbye, because there was a meeting. I put my phone on the table and stared at the open journal page in front of me without actually reading it. Words blended into scribbles. I sat there for 20 minutes before finally picking up my bag and getting out. Outside, the coldness ambushed me like something that had been waiting. I walked down the street to my room, past the small shops that had started turning on their lights because it got dark earlier this season. A grocery store, a used bookstore, a small cafe with misty windows and silhouettes of people inside who looked warm and unbothered. I stopped in front of the cafe. I stared inside. An old woman sat alone at the corner table, reading a newspaper, a cup of tea in front of her. Two young people, students, it seemed, laughed about something on their laptop. A barista wiped the table with a rag that was no longer very clean. Everyone has their own story. I have a story that just started. A week later, I came back to my room after afternoon class and found my cell phone full of notifications. Not from Mom or Dad. From Aunt Worry, Mother's younger sister who lives in Surabaya. Raka, this is Aunt Worry. Can you call Annie now? There's something we need to talk about. Don't tell your mother yet. The message was sent 2 hours ago. There were 2 more messages after that. Alright. And then, okay, this might not be the right time, but Annie hopes you are well. Call when you're ready. I sat on the edge of the bed with my jacket still on. Outside, it had started raining, groaning in soft and persistent rain, not heavy, but never stopping. The sound of rain on the window was like a whisper whose words were unclear. I called. Aunt Worry answered after 2 dial tones. Her voice immediately dropped to a lower pitch than usual. Alright, where are you? In my room. What's wrong, Tan? A pause. Too long a pause. Annie doesn't know where to start, she said finally. From the start, Tan. Aunt Worry took a breath. Did you know? Has your mother been going out with someone for several months? I didn't answer straight away. What do you mean? A friend. She said it was a friend. But Annie met them when Annie went to Jakarta last month. And Raka, your mother's way with that person is not like the way she is with friends. Cold crept up from my feet to my chest. Not from a room temperature, even though the room was cold. From within. Are you sure, Auntie? Not 100% sure. That's why Annie doesn't want to talk to your father straight away. But Annie can't just stay quiet either. You're her son, Raka. You have the right to know. I stood up. I walked to the window. The canal below was already dark, the rain creating small circles on its surface like endless questions. Who is he, Tan? Annie doesn't know. A man. Younger than your mother, I think. They sat in the cafe, chatting. Annie saw them before going inside. They didn't know Auntie was there. The way he held your mother's hand. All right. Aunt Worry stopped. She didn't continue. I didn't ask her to continue. Raka, said Aunt Worry. Her voice was softer now, almost like talking to a child. Are you okay? I'm still processing, Tan. I'm sorry I had to tell you this. It's okay. But my voice wasn't completely convincing, even to myself. After the call ended, I stood in front of the window for who knows how long. It rained the whole time. The ducks that are usually in the canal were no longer visible. They had the instinct to take shelter when the sky is unreliable. I wished I had the same instinct. That night, I didn't do anything. I lay in bed with the lights off and stared at the dark ceiling, listening to the rain, trying to rearrange all the conversation from the last few weeks. Mother who called at 3 in the morning with red eyes. Dad who asked if Mom had ever told me anything. There are 2 faces on the screen that felt like 2 pieces of an incompatible puzzle. Suddenly everything fit together, and it was much worse than not fitting at all. The next day, Groningen felt different. This doesn't make sense, of course. The city hasn't changed because of your feelings. The canal remains in place. The old church in the city center still stands with its bluish-green tower. Bicycles still cluster around every corner like metal bushes. People were still walking at a fast pace with their heads slightly lowered against the wind. But I saw everything with different eyes. I went to morning classes, research methodology, 2 hours, a lecturer who spoke with a strong Dutch accent about reliability and validity. I sat on the 3rd bench from the back and wrote notes that I didn't read. Next to me, Priya, a classmate from Mumbai who often shared provisions because she always brought too many, realized that I wasn't myself. Are you okay? She whispered while the lecturer was changing the slide. Just not enough sleep. You must have forgotten to turn off the coffee again. Yeah, a small lie. Easier than the truth. After class, I walked alone. This is a habit I've built since coming here. 1 hour every day to walk aimlessly, get to know the city, let the mind move freely. Groningen is a good city to walk. A university town with cobbled streets, small shops, warm cafes. Not a city full of tourists like Amsterdam. This is a city that has its own life, which doesn't care whether you exist or not. Today I walked longer than usual. I passed the Martinikerhof, the courtyard around the old church, where there were benches and old trees whose roots raised the sidewalk stones. I sat on one bench. The wind carried the smell of rivers and cold rocks. I took out my cell phone. I opened a chat with Mom. Our last message was 3 days ago. Mom sent a photo of a neighbor's cat that had entered the yard. Very fat, R.A. I responded with a laughing emoji. I scrolled up. Hundreds of messages over months. Mother asking about my meals. Me telling her about assignments. Mother sending recipes. Try buying the ingredients. They must be in the supermarket there. And me responding with photos of failed dishes. Conversations about small things. A conversation that felt like a rope bridging two places too far apart. I don't know what to do with what Aunt Worry told me. I don't know if I should ask Mom directly. I don't know if I should tell Dad. I don't know if I should just stay quiet, pretend, I don't know, wait, who knows? A grandfather passed in front of me with a small white dog. The dog stopped and looked at me. The grandfather didn't. It's fine, I said quietly to the dog. In Indonesian, the dog wagged its tail, then ran after its owner. 2 days later, I called Mom. Not a video call, a regular phone call. Somehow, I didn't want to see her face, didn't want to see her eyes, didn't want to read her expression in real time. I want to just sound. It's easier to think clearly with just a voice. Mother answered quickly. R.A., you called first. Usually Mom does it. Mom, I said, cutting in. I want to ask something. A short pause. Yes. I sat at the study table. It was already dark outside. Only 4 in the afternoon, but this season sucked in the light faster than you could catch up. My desk lamp created a small pool of light around my laptop. Mom, are you okay? I asked. Not the question I planned, but the one that came out first. Okay, why? I'm worried. The other day, you called at 3 in the morning. Your eyes were red. Mother did not answer immediately. Mom just has trouble sleeping. Why is it hard to sleep? It's just hard to sleep sometimes, R.A. There's not always a reason. Mom. Raka. My full name. Not the usual R.A. I took a breath. Mom and Dad. Are you two okay? A longer silence this time. Outside the window, a woman cycled past the canal, her coat bright red among all the gray ones. We're okay, said Mother finally. Are you sure, Mom? Raka, what do you want to say? Just say it. I gripped the edge of the table. The wooden table was cold under my palm. I want to say everything. Aunt Worry's name, the cafe in Jakarta, the hand being held. But those words refused to come out easily. They got stuck in my throat like something too big. I just want to say, I said finally, quietly, that if Mom wants to tell me something, I'm here. I know I'm far away, but I'm here. Silence. Then a sound I didn't expect. Mother sighed, long and heavy, like someone who had been carrying a weight for a long time, and finally let go a little. Raka, she said. Her voice was different now. Lower. You know something? I don't know for sure, I said honestly. But I'm not naive, Mom. Again, quiet. This isn't. Mom stopped. Started again. It's not as simple as you might think. I don't think it's simple at all, Mom. Your father and I, we have been. She stopped again. Mom doesn't have to explain now. But you have the right to know. I know. But not now. Not on the phone like this. Mom cried. I could hear it. Not a dramatic cry, but a tired cry, a cry that had been stored for too long and finally leaked through a small gap. I sat where I was and listened without saying anything, because I didn't know if there were the right words, and maybe there weren't any. Finally, Mom said, her voice hoarse, I'm sorry, R.A. I didn't answer straight away. Then, I love you, Mom. Mom loves you too. We hung up. I put the phone face down on the table. I sat there in the silence of my small room, with the sound of the canal outside and the wind occasionally knocking on the window, and I allowed myself to feel everything. Angry, sad, confused, sorry, disappointed. Everything at once, all coming together like waves that don't arrive one by one. I didn't cry that night. I couldn't. Sometimes sadness is too great to produce tears. A week later, Dad called again. This time while I was having lunch in my room. Pasta with canned tomato sauce and cheese that was already quite hard. The student food I had eaten so often I could cook it with my eyes closed. I ate at the study table with an open book in front of me. Try to pretend this wasn't going to be a tough conversation. Hello, R.A. Are you eating? Yeah, it's okay. Dad was also seen eating or had just finished. There was the sound of a plate in the background. Then it stopped. Dad's not bothering you, right? No. A pause. Then Dad said, quietly, Raka, I want to ask for your help. What is it? Can you? Can you keep an eye on Mom? I mean, just chat normally. But if there's something unusual, if Mom tells you something important, will you let Dad know? I put down my fork, slowly. So, I said, Dad want me to be a spy? Not a spy. Just, that's what a spy does, Dad. Dad went quiet. Then his voice dropped. Dad is worried. I know Dad is worried. You know something? This was the same question Dad had asked the week before. And I still didn't have a good answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I didn't know whose right it was to be told. This is not my story. This is Mom and Dad's story, their marriage story, a 23-year-old story that I only know a small part of from the outside. Well, I said finally, if you're curious about Mom, you should talk to Mom. Not to me. But I'm a child, not mediator, not a referee, and not a spy. I took a breath. I love Dad. I love Mom too. And precisely because of that, I don't want to be in the middle of this. A long silence. You're right, Dad said finally. His voice sounded strange. There was a mixture of embarrassment and something else, something that might have been relief. Sorry, alright, Dad shouldn't have asked for that. It's okay. Dad just... I don't know how to talk to Mom about this. I don't know either, Dad. I can't help with that. Yeah. A pause. How's your college? Good. Cold there. Very. Take care of your health. I will. A pause. Dad, what? Whatever happens between Mom and Dad, it doesn't change anything for me to Dad. Nothing is lost from my side. Dad didn't say anything for a while. Then his voice cracked slightly. One small crack, fast, immediately closed again. Thanks, R.A. After the call ended, I returned to the cold pasta. The tomato sauce tasted bland. The cheese that was already hard didn't melt well. I ate until it was finished, because the body still needs to eat, even when the heart isn't in the taste. 2 days before I finally returned to Jakarta for the semester break, I walked to the canal near my room late at night. It's not something I usually do. Going out on my own after midnight in winter is not a smart decision, and I know it. But there was something that pushed me out. Cabin fever, perhaps, or some kind of need to feel real air in my lungs, not room air that had been circling with the same thoughts. Groningen at 11 o'clock at night is a different city from Groningen at noon. Lonelier, clearer, but not frightening. There was a different calm. Street lights bounced off the canal, and the sky above was clear because the wind had driven away the clouds, and the stars looked more numerous than I usually remembered there were. I stood on the edge of the canal with my hands in my pockets and my breath billowing white in the cold air. I thought about Mom, not with anger at the forefront. Anger was there, but it wasn't leading tonight. What was more present was something more complicated. The understanding that Mom is a person, not just Mom. That there was a life she lived before I was born. There were choices she made and didn't make. There were desires and disappointments she never told me about, because parents rarely tell their children about things that make them seem imperfect. I thought about Dad, the way he asked if Mom had ever told me anything, the way his voice cracked once on the phone and healed immediately. 23 years of marriage. I can't imagine what that means. I haven't loved anyone for more than 3 years. And I thought about myself, here in a small town in the north of the Netherlands, thousands of kilometers from everything that is going on, able to do nothing but listen and not be part of the problem. Distance has two sides. On the one hand, I don't have to witness this in person, don't have to see them avoiding each other at the dinner table, don't have to hear arguments or silence worse than arguments. On the other hand, I'm alone with all of this. There's no one I can talk to, can't tell Priya, can't tell my roommates, can't tell anyone because this isn't my story to share. A swan passed along the canal calmly, not caring about the cold or the human standing on its edge late at night with too many thoughts. I don't know if I should be angry at Mom. I don't know if I have the right not to be. I don't know if there's a right way to respond to this. All I know, I'll be flying home in 2 days. I will enter the same house where Mom and Dad live. I will eat at the same table, sleep in the same room, breathe the same air. And I have to decide before the plane lands how I will carry myself. Not because I have to choose a side, but because I need to survive in the middle of this without losing myself. The wind blew from the north, bringing deeper cold. I stood there until my fingers started to go numb. Then I walked back to the room. I boiled water for tea. I sat on the bed with the teacup in my hand and let the warmth spread to my palms. Tomorrow I still have class. Tomorrow there are assignments that must be submitted. Tomorrow the world is still spinning in its own way, no matter what happens in my family or in my heart. And I'll be fine. Not because everything is fine, but because I've chosen to keep standing. Not perfect, but standing. Schiphol Airport at 6 in the morning is a place that feels like in between. Not here, not there, just the pulse and sound of announcements and people walking with suitcases and gazes that are past sleep. I sat at the gate with black coffee in my hand and my cell phone on my knees. A message came from Mom a few minutes ago. Mom wants to pick you up today. Dad has a meeting. What time do you land? I read the message 3 times. Then I typed, 11 p.m. No need, Mom. Just take a taxi. You should rest. The reply was quick. I don't want to. Mom wants to pick you up. I miss you. I stared at the message. The coffee in my hand was starting to get cold. I miss you. 2 words that hadn't changed even though everything else had shifted. Mother who will pick me up in the middle of the night with her tired face and eyes that may still hold something unfinished. And I don't know how to hug her without feeling a mixture of many things at once. But I will hug her, because that's what people who love each other do. They're still present even when everything is complicated. They still come to the gate, still pick you up in the middle of the night, still put coffee on the table, still send messages saying they miss you. Complexity does not erase affection. And maybe that's what I'm going to carry home from groaning in. Not all the answers, because there aren't all the answers. But the understanding that people can love and hurt at the same time, can make the wrong choice while still being someone worth loving, can fall and still be worth helping back up. I don't have to agree with what Mom did, but I can still love her while disagreeing. The gate announcement sounded, the Dutch voice first, then the British. Boarding time. I rose. I tidied up my bag. I took the cold coffee and drank the last of it, bitter, unpleasant, but enough to confirm that I was still here, still awake, still moving forward. In the boarding queue, I typed one last message to Mom. Okay, come and pick me up. I want to eat fried rice that same night. The reply came in seconds. I already bought the ingredients. Safe travels. R.A. Mom is waiting. I smiled. The first smile in quite a long time that felt like mine alone, not forced, not performed for anyone. Then I boarded the plane and flew toward the direction where someone was waiting.